Hello and welcome to the Joyful Soul Creates. Charlotte here, and today I'm participating in the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop which Justine Hovey has organised. You can find the full information about the hop over on her blog and there will be a link for that down below. But for now I will just quickly explain that this hop is to celebrate card making video tutorials. It's 5 days of hops. All you need to do is to watch, like, consider subscribing and click the link below once you've finished my video to watch the next video. There are a load of prizes along the way and I will talk about those a bit later in my video. For now, just enjoy and I hope you will be inspired by what I make. I'm going to be creating 2 cards for this video, and this is a 2-for-1 using the Floral Heart Stamp and Cut from Hero Arts. My idea with this card was to reduce wastage, because a lot of the time you would use a die like this and you would just use the positive portion, the portion that's intended to be used, and I thought I would try and make a second card with the negative to minimize wastage, as I said. So I have a snippet of pink pearlized card which is just a bit smaller than my card front size, and I worked out how I wanted to position my die onto that and then cut it out. And then I'm going to start on the first card using the outer portion of that panel. For now I've left the die in the die cut, and for this card I'm actually going to end up making a flat shaker. I didn't know that this was what I was going to do when I started, so originally I was just going to adhere the panel down to my card base, which is why I put glue all over the back of it. But then I decided actually I wanted to make a shaker, so I cut a piece of acetate and stuck that onto the back of the panel to create my shaker window. Only then I remembered that I do not have much foam tape left at the moment. That's one of the downsides of crafting on a budget, is sometimes you run out of things. So at that point I thought, never mind, I'll just keep going and work out what to do about that later. The acetate in any case gave me a good place to stick my negative parts to, so I'm putting glue on the back of the die cut pieces that I want to stick to my window, the ones that stayed in the heart, and then I will lay the window over top and press them on. Not all of the pieces stayed in place. The more that stay in place, the easier it is to get them adhered onto that window, but the rest of them are easy enough to do as well. I used the back of my quick stick tool just to help me press those pieces into place to make sure they've stuck down to the window, and then I will move on to adhering the other pieces that were left out and getting all of those in. I used my reverse tweezers and also the quick stick tool from time to time to help me pick up all the pieces and get them into place. I managed to keep almost all the pieces. There was one tiny bit from the bottom which, when I was getting the glue on it, it flicked out of my tweezers and just disappeared, which of course is the downside to working with these small die cut pieces, but they're fairly easy to get into place. It's just like making a puzzle. It's a bit time consuming to do it this way. Ideally you want them to have stayed in the die and then it will be a lot quicker, but you can piece them back in. It just takes some patience. And my panel was sticking to my craft mat a little bit because of that glue on the back, but as it had dried and being Tombow mono multi glue, it's repositionable. There was no risk of it staying stuck on the table. Once I had all my pieces in place, I used my tweezers again to help me carefully peel up the positive portion of the die, and I took this very slowly. This actually sped up. I was very slow and careful with doing this so I could make sure none of the pieced negative portions would come up with it. So I, as necessary, pushed them back into place with my tweezers to make sure they would stay attached to the acetate and not come up with the heart. And here's how that looks with all those pieces in place. I wasn't entirely happy with it, so I actually cut another piece of the heart so that I could cut out the strip that goes along the centre and use that for my sentiment. I had actually used heat-proof acetate because I was thinking of heat embossing my sentiment directly onto the acetate, but I decided to use a strip of the pearlized card instead. This did have the added advantage that I could piece back in the little piece that I was missing from the bottom of the heart, so I did have all the pieces in place then. I decided to do some ink blending behind where my window would be on the card base, and I'm just using milled lavender distress ink for this. and I'm just keeping it darker at the bottom and fading out a bit towards the top. It just adds a bit of interest to the back of the card, or the back of the shaker. Off camera, I white heat embossed my sentiment onto the sentiment strip, and that sentiment is one of the ones from the stamp set which comes with this die, which again is the Floral Heart Stamp and Cut from Hero Arts. And I'll use my reverse tweezers to help me position the strip, which I'm adhering with that same Tombow Mono Multi Glue. Next, I'm going to add some sequins. These sequins are the Shimmer sequins from Craftin Desert Divas. They're very pretty iridescent sequins, and I thought they worked well with the colour of the pearlized panel and also the purple in the background. As the shaker is flat, they're not going to have a lot of space to move, so I want to make sure they are spread out to fairly well cover the area that they will be in. So they're kind of filling the area behind the heart. And whilst I'm fiddling with that, I will quickly tell you about the sponsors. As I said, these sequins are from Craftin Desert Divas, who is one of the sponsors, and there are a whole bunch of other sponsors, as you can see in the graphic on screen. There are loads of prizes, over 125 prizes to be won, and leaving a comment is all you need to do to enter you into the draws. The more videos you comment on, the more chances you have to win prizes, and comments must be left by the 7th of November. Please do mention when you comment whether you are in the US or international, because some of the prizes are limited based on location. And then if you check back every day this week, there will be more videos to hop along with, so more chances to win, and each day has a different theme. Hopefully all of the videos will be enjoyable to you and will inspire you, and maybe you'll find a new favourite YouTuber to follow along the way. And maybe that will be me, maybe not, maybe it'll be someone else, but as long as you enjoy yourselves and support the YouTubers, that's the main thing. Back to the card, I then just adhered my panel into place once all my sequins were where I wanted them, and again I'm using my liquid glue for that, and press it down well, and that completed the first card. I did give it a bit of a shake to make sure it was shaking a little, which it was, so that was good. Next, I'm going to use the positive portion of the card to start my second card, and I'm going to start by heat embossing another sentiment from that stamp set onto the strip, and again I'm going to white heat emboss. So I treated it with my anti-static powder tool first, and I'm going to ink it up with embossing ink, and I actually stamped it 2 or 3 times because my embossing ink is drying out a bit, so doing it a few more times just helped make sure it was inked up well enough. I'll then add my white embossing powder and heat set it with my heat gun, which had been warming up off screen, so it didn't take very long to melt that powder. Then I have another white card base, and I'm going to pop my heart up on top of it. As I said on my last card, I'm pretty much out of foam tape, and as you can see here, I'm on the very last bits, but I was able to find enough just to pop up the heart. So I put a strip of it behind that sentiment strip, and it fit very nicely, and then I cut lots of smaller pieces to put behind the flowers just to add a bit of further support. You wouldn't necessarily have to put all these little pieces in behind the other areas, but if you're putting it through the post, it's probably better to have them just to make sure that it doesn't get crushed whilst it's in transit. The more support it is, the less likely it is to get crushed. So then I removed the backing paper from the tape, and I will use the lines of my grip mat to help me get my heart lined up, and I'm putting it in pretty much the same position as I used for the layout of my other card. Then I decided I would add some Nuvo drops, and these are Bubblegum Blush crystal drops, so they're a kind of pinky colour and it matched the card I'd used very well, the pearlized card. So I added 3 drops in the top left and 3 down below the heart. The ones in the top left, I wasn't happy with the positioning, so I was initially trying to remove the 3rd one, but then I realised I could just move it, so I did that instead, and that worked well enough. And here you can see the 2 finished cards. There's the shaker card, which does shake a little bit. I was actually surprised. I didn't think it would shake much at all, but there is some movement in there. And then the second heart with the positive part. I would love it if you let me know which of the 2 cards you prefer, and maybe you could tell me if you've ever made cards like this where you've used both parts of the die cut. In any case, do make sure you remember to leave a comment and say where you are from, and do the same on all the other videos to make sure you are entered to win the prizes along the way. The link to the next video in the hop is down below, and you can always hop over to Justine's blog to see all the information of the hops. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, feel free to give it a thumbs down and perhaps let me know how you think I could improve, if there's something I could do better. If you're not yet a subscriber, I hope you will press the subscribe button, and you can also hit the notification bell to be informed anytime I post a video. There are a couple of other videos on screen that you might find of interest. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the hop. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!